Hello and welcome back to the farm. This week I'm racing to try and get some tasks done in preparation for about a week of work travel. One of the other things that always annoyed me on this bulldozer was the fact that there was an empty beer can from the previous owner covering the exhaust stack for the pony motor. So I went on Amazon and I ordered an exhaust flapper with the correct size, and I wanted to get that on before I leave. I wanted to make sure everything's good and watertight. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that I set up an email address for this channel. The email address is BuyingTheFarmNY@gmail.com. If anyone would like to reach out for any reason, please feel free to drop me an email. Another task that I wanted to accomplish this weekend was trying to cut down the other side of the road that goes along the side of my property. If you recall, I was able to cut in the first half of the road with the bulldozer, but that leads up to a ditch, and the ditch cuts off the road. The ditch is about 3 feet deep and about 9 feet across, and it's filled with water and weeds, about 1.5 feet of water. So I needed some way to get across there. Right now, I only had one thing available. So I'd like to introduce you to a wonderful new invention. It's called Bridge 1.0. Yeah, I know it's lame, but it was the only piece of wood that I had that could reach across. And look, it works. I could walk across there. As silly as this seems, crossing this ditch is basically one of the only ways to get from the front side of the property to the back side of the property. So while I am going to have to do a bigger, more permanent solution in the near future, right now it's enough to get myself across this ditch without getting wet, and to get my newer weed whacker back to the other side so that I can start trying to manually cut down some of the weeds on the other side of this ditch. I would really like to be able to see all the way down this road that was cut in here. And unfortunately, without getting the bulldozer through there, this is the only way that I'm going to be able to manageably take care of this overgrowth. Incidentally, a million thank yous to all of you who left comments on the pony motor. I didn't forget about that. We'll get to that in a video coming up soon. Yeah, this is a terrible process. I need a second board so that I could possibly drive my lawnmower back here. That would make cutting all this down way easier, and it would be a lot easier to maintain it too. Have I mentioned lately how much I love this weed whacker? This thing's an animal. I'm really happy I bought it. I haven't used it much this summer though. And par for the course, I ran out of string, and I don't have any on me. Perfect timing. I was so close. There's really not much further to go. Right at the end of this road is the 5-acre cleared field. You can almost see out in the distance the little buildings and sheds of the houses right at the end of that clearing. Just a little bit more to go. Honestly, this didn't come out half bad. The little bridge that I put up worked great, and the weed whacker cut down a lot of stuff. So I figured I would show you what the 3.5 minute walk looks like to get from the road to almost the clearing. Now recall, about a week or two ago, I cut through all this area with the bulldozer. I still have to take out this one tree though, it's kind of in the way of the path. Now the previous owner had already cut all of this in. He had a crew come out to do it, and they were supposed to put a solar field in that cleared acreage. That never happened. It's a nice path though. Now coming inward from the street, I wanted to have a couple ways to get to the field, the big area that I had been clearing for the past few weeks. So I cut through a whole bunch of shrubbery and saplings to make this little access. I wanted to keep the giant tree. That's an awesome tree. It's very old. But if you keep going down this path, I did cut in around the other side as well, so that I could get to the field from either side. I do have to take another pass or two down this path with the bulldozer, in addition to toppling over this tree on the left-hand side. This is really the only way to get from the road to the cleared acreage to the back of my property, so I want to make sure that this is done well, and it's done right, and it's something that I'm able to maintain. Now, that bridge is going to be a problem. I am going to have to put something bigger, and what I was thinking is kind of like a floating deck made with really robust timbers, either 2x12s or even 6x6s. Something like a square floating deck, but instead of having flat decking across the top, using maybe 2x6s or 2x10s, maybe a couple layers of each. I would love it if I could get my bulldozer across that bridge that I build, but that is about 20,000 pounds, so it's definitely going to have to be overbuilt. Another thing that I thought I'd show you is on the opposite side of my property. This is the old farmer's wagon path that leads to the pond, to the birch groves, and to all that other area. We haven't really seen that this summer. So I did drive my bulldozer down this path, and I didn't bulldoze per se, I just kind of lowered the blade so that it was 2 or 3 inches off the ground, and I just drove it back and forth a few times. There were some piles of dirt and some things that got knocked over, which is good, because I wanted to clear this out, but this path follows my property line, down the side, past the swamp, around the bend, and eventually to the pond. In real time, this is about a 6 or 7 minute walk, but that's fine. It's a beautiful walk. There's nature, there's little frogs, there's all sorts of cool stuff to see on this walk, so it's definitely nothing that I wanted to rush through. As we're getting to the end of the path here, I wanted to tell you about something that I want to try in the spring. I want to clear some of the area on the right-hand side of the path, and I want to put in some beehives. I found this cool new type of product. It's called an auto flow beehive. Flowhive is one brand of these. Has anybody ever tried these out? Do any of you have apiaries on your property? I think it would be cool to harvest my own honey and to have these on the property. Do any of you have any experience? I would love to see the comments if any of you do this on your own property. As you can see, the pond is peaceful and serene as ever. The birch groves are equally as relaxing, and the swamp beyond is thriving. The insects are buzzing around, there's snakes crawling around, there's frogs hopping all over the place. It's just a really cool area. So as we exit the path from the pond, and as I look around, I realize, wow, a lot has taken place this summer. A lot of things got done. There's still a lot more to do, but let's wait for the next video to reflect on that. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Don't forget the email.